Help, Mom is drying up. Receiving a call early in the morning. I felt a sense of unease and answered to find it was an SOS from my 5-year-old grandson. What do you mean? What happened to Dad? As I asked, not understanding the situation, I was hit with further shock. A long time ago, Dad pushed Mom down the stairs and left. I had thought my daughter's family was living happily. What on earth could have happened to them? With a disturbed heart, I hurried to my daughter's house. At that time, I had no idea that I would be involved in such an incident later on. Leaving the house after Kevin's call, I was perplexed while holding the steering wheel. Then, I remembered that my daughter Vanessa had been acting strangely lately. She had become withdrawn, spoke less, and seemed to lose weight every time I saw her. Worried, I asked her what was wrong, but she just laughed it off, saying she felt unwell due to the summer heat. However, her smile lacked its usual energy. Regretting not being able to do more for her, fearing I might be interfering too much, I arrived at my daughter's house. Using the spare key I had, I entered. The house was silent, and I called out for Vanessa and Kevin as I headed to the living room. Ugh, what is this? I found myself standing frozen, covering my mouth in shock. Despite it being the middle of summer, the living room was sealed off and, for some reason, the heating was on. In that sauna-like room, my daughter and grandson lay collapsed with bright red faces. Vanessa. Kevin. Wake up. Both were barely breathing and unresponsive to my calls. I quickly called an ambulance and used the cold packs from the fridge to cool them down. I then contacted my son-in-law, Patrick. He said he had been on a business trip since the day before, and was terribly shaken by the news of his wife and son. Actually, Vanessa has been saying she hasn't been feeling well lately. Apparently, my daughter had been unable to sleep and had been taking sleeping pills every night. She must have mistakenly turned the heater on instead of the air conditioner, and fell asleep because of the medicine. I felt something was off with Patrick's explanation. Vanessa was found in the living room, not her bedroom. Moreover, both she and Kevin were not in their pajamas but in their usual clothes. And she hadn't even removed her makeup. Given Vanessa's meticulous nature, it didn't seem likely she would take medicine and fall asleep in the living room before even putting Kevin to bed. However, my thoughts were interrupted by the approaching sound of an ambulance siren. Patrick said he had important work and couldn't come back immediately. So I told him I would contact him again once we arrived at the hospital. Oh, right, Kevin said something strange on the phone. He said Dad had pushed Mom down the stairs a long time ago and left. Do you know what that means? What? I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe he had a scary dream. Right, sorry for saying something strange. The ambulance has arrived, so I'm going to hang up now. At that time, I did not suspect Patrick at all, thinking that my grandson must have had a bad dream. Vanessa and Kevin were admitted to the hospital with severe heatstroke and dehydration, and did not regain consciousness that day. Thanks to the doctor's efforts, they were out of danger, and Kevin woke up first the next day. Kevin. Thank goodness. Overwhelmed with relief, I couldn't help but tear up. What about Mom? It's okay, she'll get better soon. Dad will come soon too. Then, my grandson's face suddenly tensed up. No. Don't let Dad come. Oh no. You mustn't get up yet. I hurriedly restrained Kevin as he tried to jump out of bed. I'm going to Mom. Where is she? Kevin, calm down. What's going on? Dad pushed Mom down the stairs. I understand. It's okay. Just calm down for now. I calmed my agitated grandson, gave him some water, and decided to listen to his story. Mom and Dad have been fighting a lot for a long time. The story Kevin told was something I had no idea about. Patrick was habitually violent towards Vanessa, he said. And that night, they had a fierce argument in front of Kevin. And Patrick pushed Vanessa down the stairs. How could this be? I remembered how my daughter had been acting lately. And realized that was why she had been so withdrawn. However, while violence is absolutely unacceptable, there are aspects of marital issues that only those involved can understand. There was also hesitation in how much to believe what my grandson was saying. The Patrick I knew was soft-spoken and kind, caring deeply for Vanessa and Kevin. Moreover, he had said over the phone that he had been on a business trip since the day before. "Grandma, don't you believe what I'm saying?" Sensing my skepticism, Kevin looked at me with tearful eyes. Seeing this, I was greatly disturbed. Kevin is usually very smart and not the kind of child to tell petty lies. Above all, I was most puzzled that he had not woken up until the morning in such a hot room. "Kevin, do you know where Dad went after he pushed Mom?" "I don't know, but he said he had an important promise with Hannah." "Hannah?" "Yes, Dad's mistress." "What did you say?" I was shocked by the words that came out of my 5-year-old grandson's mouth. "Kevin, do you understand what a mistress means?" "Not really." I secretly heard Mom saying that to Dad. I sighed. I couldn't believe that my daughter and her husband were going through such things. The thought of how much pain Vanessa and Kevin must have been enduring made my heart ache. And my distrust towards Patrick grew. Could it be that he was the one who turned on the heating in the room? This thought gave me chills. It implied that Patrick might have been targeting the lives of Vanessa and Kevin. I hurriedly tried to dismiss such a horrifying thought, but the suspicion only grew. "Kevin, can you calm down and try to remember? Did Dad give you anything before he left? Like medicine, for example?" After my question, my grandson thought for a while. "Now that you mention it, he gave me juice." "I thought so." "Did you drink it?"
Yeah.
I said I didn't want it because I was worried about Mom. But Dad made a scary face and told me to drink it. At that point, Kevin seemed to remember the incident and began to cry. "I understand. Sorry for asking about something so upsetting. Everything will be okay now." While greatly confused myself, I stroked my grandson's back and patted his head to calm him. After a while, Kevin seemed to calm down and fell asleep again. Later, I went to my daughter's house by myself. Before going to the hospital, my grandson had told me something important. Just before the incident, my daughter was doing something with her smartphone. Thinking there might be some clue on it, I decided to check. Indeed, my hunch was correct. It seemed that Vanessa had recorded a conversation with Patrick at that time. When I pressed the play button, the sound of a violent argument between the couple came from her smartphone. Then, Vanessa's cries of "a stop," followed by a loud impact noise. Afterwards, Kevin's crying and the sound of Patrick trying to forcibly make him drink juice were vividly recorded. So, it was true. Patrick intended to silence Vanessa and Kevin. Overwhelmed with indescribable anger and holding important evidence, I was about to go to the police. However, the next moment, I felt a severe impact on the back of my head and lost consciousness. How much time had passed since then? I woke up to an abnormal heat and was shocked by what I saw. The house had started to burn. In a panic, I tried to get up quickly, but then I froze in fear. My limbs were tied with thick ropes, and I realized I couldn't move. "Somebody help me!" I shouted loudly, but I was alone in the sealed house. My voice couldn't reach the outside. Surrounded by rising smoke, my throat dried up. And I could no longer speak due to the overwhelming distress and fear.
Ah.
"It's no use. But just when I had given up hope in this dire situation, suddenly, the window glass broke, and someone jumped in to rescue me. Several hours later, I was calling the person who had attacked me at my daughter's house. You really thought you did something clever earlier. But unfortunately for you, I'm still alive. And the damage to the house was just minor. The person on the other end of the phone was silent for a moment, but then pretended to be clueless, saying, suddenly, "What are you talking about?" In fact, while I was unconscious, the evidence, the smartphone, had been taken by the attacker. Of course, it was my son-in-law, Patrick. How insincere. I know everything. What you did to Vanessa and Kevin, and even tried to take care of me after I found out. I don't understand what you're saying. You can play dumb only for now. You didn't know, but there's more evidence. What evidence are you talking about? If you want to know, come to my house immediately. I want to hear the truth from you before I go to the police. I said this and hung up the phone unilaterally. Now, the final showdown is coming. I'll crush that devil of a man thoroughly. Be prepared, because I won't hold back. And so, as the confrontation with Patrick approached, I felt a fierce determination. Patrick arrived within an hour. Lucy, what was that call about? It's shocking to be suddenly accused like that. I'm the one who's shocked. I didn't know Patrick was such a cowardly person. What are you talking about? Don't say such rude things without basis. Don't play dumb. Kevin woke up this morning. It wasn't true that you were on a business trip. I heard everything you did to them the night before last. I raised my voice and glared at Patrick, but he didn't seem to take any of it seriously, laughing off my accusations with an air of composure. Ridiculous. I don't know what you've heard, but it must be a dream Kevin saw or just his lies. It's crazy to take such a small child's word for it. Kevin doesn't lie, and he's much smarter than you think. He knew about your affair, Patrick. And he's been hurting over his parents' bad relationship for a long time. Well, I don't know anything about that. Isn't it just a child's wild imagination? Don't dodge the issue. You were planning a trip with your affair partner. And you argued with Vanessa about it, then tried to make your daughter and grandson disappear. Tears involuntarily spilled from my eyes as I thought of Vanessa and Kevin's grievances. But Patrick just sneered at me more happily. Really, this is absurd. Have you started to senile because of your age? Vanessa recorded your conversation on her smartphone the night before last. I definitely heard that recording earlier. Oh, that? Then please, let me hear it. Don't joke around. You took Vanessa's smartphone. And then you tried to take my life by setting a fire. So, you have no evidence after all. Without it, your claims are just baseless. The police will only laugh at the nonsense of a child and an old woman. Patrick then laughed uproariously, clutching his stomach in an exaggerated manner. Well, I'm leaving. I don't have time to play detective games with the elderly. He turned his back and began to walk away. Wait a minute. Do you still think you can escape after seeing this? I called out to him, and as he turned around, I thrust my smartphone screen in front of him, starting a video. It showed the living room of my daughter's house a few hours earlier. The video captured Patrick hitting me from behind with a golf club, setting the fire, and then dashing out. Seeing this, Patrick's composure changed instantly, and his eyes widened in shock. Hey, what is that? When did you take that? It seems this was unexpected for you, wasn't it? As I stared him down, Patrick's face contorted in fear, and his lips trembled. See, I told you there was more evidence. Showing this to the police would certainly be a direct out for you. Damn it. You've gone and done unnecessary things. Patrick, completely changed, lunged at me, trying to snatch the smartphone from my hand. However, just before he could reach me, I dodged and quickly tripped him by sticking out my leg. Gah! He stumbled and crashed his leg against the table, crouching down in pain. You damn old woman. I can't forgive you. Saying this, Patrick, with bloodshot eyes, got up, removing his tie and slowly advancing towards me. I watched his movements, ready to flee in either direction, and continued to confront him. So you've shown your true colors. Was it the same the night before last? You got upset when Vanessa confronted you about the affair and pushed her down the stairs. Didn't you?
Yeah.
That's right. She was so annoying, I couldn't stand it. And you deliberately switched the air conditioner to heating, didn't you? Right, I did it. Before that, I had secretly put sleeping pills in her drink. So it was expected that she would sleep until morning. You coward. Why? If you hated Vanessa that much, you could have just divorced her. Inside me, a whirlwind of sorrow churned. My precious daughter had been treated like trash, and it was unbearably sad.
Yeah.
I was planning to. But then Vanessa started talking about demanding compensation. After I let her live comfortably as a housewife all this time, she had the nerve to ask for that. Even so, there was no need to drag Kevin into this. He's your child, after all. I've found someone else I love. Vanessa was in the way of starting my new life with her, Kevin too. You're despicable. Say whatever you want. As he yelled, Patrick seized the moment I was off guard and lunged at me. I twisted away instinctively, but the next moment, I was immobilized from behind. You should have just surrendered quietly from the start. You've caused unnecessary trouble. While saying this, Patrick started to wrap his tie around my neck. Stop it. Even if you do this, once Vanessa wakes up, your crimes will be exposed. Don't worry, she'll be following you soon enough. It'd be nice to meet again in the afterlife. Stop. I can't breathe. Patrick's grip on the tie tightened, and my vision gradually blurred. That's enough. Just then, the sliding door to the back room opened. And a woman holding a video camera burst into the room. I've recorded all your wrongdoings. You're finished now. Let go of her. Hannah. Why are you here? In the next instant, Patrick froze, looking as if he'd been shot, forgetting about me entirely. It made sense. The one who had been hiding in the next room and recorded all of Patrick's disgraceful actions was his affair partner, Hannah. Our meeting happened 2 hours ago. Surrounded by flames and in a dire situation at Patrick's house. Hannah was the one who burst in to save me. It turns out Hannah had been misled by Patrick into believing he was single. However, suspecting something fishy from his actions. She followed him covertly after their trip and arrived at my daughter's house. Peering into the house from a window with the curtains open, she witnessed a horrendous scene. Realizing his true nature and frozen in terror, Hannah instinctively recorded his actions with her smartphone. But upon seeing the fire, she snapped back to reality, broke the window, and dove into the room where she extinguished the fire and rescued me. After confiding everything to each other, we decided to collaborate on exacting revenge on Patrick. How could you lie about being single and deceive me for so long? To think you could do such a horrible thing, I'm utterly disappointed in you. No, it was all for you. What? Don't make excuses. I love you. Help me out. Without her, we could be together. That's a joke, right? And it's too late now. With those words, the sound of police sirens Hannah had discreetly called for approached. Why did you call the police? My life is ruined now. After everything you've done, you're saying that? Please, let me go. Patrick then broke down, begging on his knees, his earlier bravado gone. Hannah, please help me. Didn't we love each other intensely? Stop, that's disgusting. You're a stain on my life. She turned away dismissively. Then, as if he hadn't just made me suffer terribly, he desperately turned to me. Mother, please forgive me. I'll make it up to Vanessa and Kevin for the rest of my life. Huh? I don't want you to call me mother. And if you want to make amends, do it behind bars. Don't say that. I'll change, I promise. I sighed deeply. There's Noah from now on. We will never forgive you. Never show us your filthy face again. Hannah and I handed over the wailing Patrick to the arriving police. We watched as he was handcuffed and pushed into the police car, then we high-fived. Later, Patrick was sentenced to prison. He was ordered to pay me $15,000 in damages for attempting on my life. Vanessa soon regained consciousness, and her divorce from Patrick was finalized. She demanded $20,000 in compensation and $100,000 in child support. Patrick had to sell his house to pay these amounts and Hannah's claim for damages. Ending up in debt. Disowned by his parents, he faces a bleak future outside prison. Meanwhile, Vanessa, Kevin, and I started a new life in my house. Vanessa began working to raise Kevin properly. And I'm determined to protect my grandson's smile forever.